Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited. John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today. I recently read an article on Bounding in the Comics that was a bit of a head-scratcher for me. And in this article, Marvel Studios producer Victoria Alonso makes the statement, "We are working on making our universe as diverse and inclusive as we can." Now, when I take a critical look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is already as diverse and inclusive as it can possibly be. And it's been diverse and inclusive from the first movie, Iron Man, back in 2008. And when you take a look at Iron Man back in 2008, it not only features Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., a white male in the lead role, but it features Jim Rhodes, played by Terrence Howard, in a supporting role, and Gwyneth Paltrow, a woman, as the leading lady. And in that film, we saw diversity with Jim Rhodes being a black man at Tony Stark's side, and we saw Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, a black man, at the end of the film, preparing the Avenger Initiative. In addition, we saw several East Asians portraying the members of the Ten Rings terrorist organization. So there was a clear picture of diversity from the foundation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when we get to Captain America, the first Avenger, the second film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that diversity is shown right there as being one of the foundations of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because in Captain America, the First Avenger, we saw diversity with the Howling Commandos, where we had an Asian member on the team, along with a black man portraying Gabriel Jones. So we saw diversity right there in Captain America, the First Avenger, in addition to Iron Man, and we also saw it in Thor, where usually Norse gods are portrayed by primarily white Scandinavian males, but in this film we had Idris Elba playing Heimdall, and that was a major milestone for diversity because we never got to see a black man playing a Norse god. And as these films built up into the Avengers with Iron Man 2, we got to see the Black Widow, so we got to see another strong woman in a role. And as the Avengers progressed into Age of Ultron, we got to see the Scarlet Witch, portrayed by Elizabeth Olsen as well. And in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, we also got to see Sam Wilson, the Falcon, coming in. So we're getting a picture of diversity as related to the characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we're seeing all races of people being portrayed as heroes, and we are going to see lots of strong women with the Black Widow, with your Pepper Potts, and with your Scarlet Witch right there. And as the Marvel Cinematic Universe has progressed, we started to see more diversity when the Vision came up in Age of Ultron. So we got to see artificial intelligence represented with both Ultron and the Vision. So we got to see a lot of diversity. And when you factor in other spin-off shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Luke Cage, Iron Fist, we get to see a lot of diversity as related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that diversity clearly shows us different people from different cultures, people of different races, and diversity of thought, because we go from action on Earth all the way to action in the galaxy, where we're seeing alien races in films like Guardians of the Galaxy. So the diversity is clearly there, and it's always been there because Stan Lee has always established it to be part of the Marvel Universe. And we saw the ultimate picture of diversity in the film Captain America Civil War, which I consider to be one of the greatest films as related to diversity and superheroes, because in that film we got to see 3 black superheroes on the same level as Captain America, the lead character, and they contributed significantly to the story. Falcon, War Machine, and Black Panther all had significant roles in Captain America Civil War, and they all were on the same equal level in terms of story. So there was diversity in Captain America Civil War that presented everybody positively, because we got to see not only 3 black characters, but 2 women in Black Widow and Scarlet Witch, and we got to see the Vision and Android as well. So we got to see a tremendous picture of diversity, and as these films progressed, we got into Black Panther, which gave us strong pictures of African men and African women, and was the highest grossing film of 2018, and that gave us a richer picture of Africans and the African diaspora, along with the African American diaspora as well. So we got to see clearly, again, more diversity as the Marvel Cinematic Universe progressed. And when we went to Spider-Man Homecoming, we saw Peter Parker's really rainbow of friends and his best friend, who was a Pacific Islander. So there was diversity in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I don't understand what Victoria Alonso is proposing about making the universe as diverse and inclusive as it can be, when it's already inclusive and diverse as it can be. But when you take a critical look at that statement, you see that it is not about making the universe diverse and inclusive. It's really about changing the narrative of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what they really want to change the Marvel Cinematic Universe's narrative to is something that doesn't fit in line with the classic Marvel Universe, which was created to be an already inclusive and diverse place, but it's designed to fit within the narrative of social justice. And when it comes down to social justice, their idea of diversity and inclusion isn't about us seeing people of different races, different genders, all competing on the same equal playing field based on merit. It is about them including people just because they are of a certain race and a certain gender. And when it comes down to social justice, it is a very shallow portrayal of diversity that is getting ready to be presented in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because when it comes down to these people who are part of the whole social justice narrative, they have a very narrow and very shallow view of diversity. And again, their view of diversity is based on people's skin tones, people's genders, and representing and including them based on the color of their skin and not the content of their character. And that is something we see portrayed in many modern Marvel comics that people call SJW Marvel. Because when it comes down to these so-called SJW Marvel comics, they are very shallow, very one-dimensional, and the so-called heroes in these stories, they are not about the selflessness of the characters in Stan Lee's Marvel Universe. They are about the selfishness of your Sana Amanat and your C.B. Cebulski, and it's all about the characters and the world revolving around them, and not how they can serve the world around them in using their powers. So this is a very bad turn for the Marvel Cinematic Universe if they are going by your Victoria Alonso's quote that they're going to work on making their universe diverse and inclusive, because they are looking to make it a universe that is all about, promoting social justice and pushing characters based on identity politics. And when characters are based on identity politics, like the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel, who was just there to be a Muslim, or your Squirrel Girl, who was there to represent plus-size women, or your Amadeus Cho, what they call the Totally Awesome Hulk, is just there to be Asian, or your Riri Williams, who is Ironheart now but was in the Iron Man book, and she is just there to be black, then we don't get a character that is rich and multidimensional and is telling a story that makes us relate to the character. All we're seeing is a character who is just there to be a skin tone, and they become a stereotype, just like characters of color were stereotypes back in the 1970s on sitcoms like Different Strokes, like The Facts of Life, like Good Times, and like Gimme a Break. On all of those sitcoms back in the 80s, we had to, and late 70s, we had to endure characters who weren't people, but they were ideas of people who never lived or experienced black people, and they were very hard to stomach. And I remember being a kid back in those days, and those shows perpetuated and breathed brand new life into all sorts of old stereotypes that racist white people had about black people, but didn't give us the human types that we actually were. It wasn't until Bill Cosby came along with The Cosby Show in 1984 that we really started to get a clear picture of black culture and the black experience, and we got to see a diverse picture of the black culture and the black experience. And after Bill Cosby kicked open the door for the images of black culture and the black experience, that's when others like Robert Townsend, Spike Lee, Mario Van Peebles, and many others like the late John Singleton were able to open that door and really give us a true picture of diversity as related to the black experience, and really give us a clearer picture of black culture. And what these producers like Victoria Alonso want to do is they want to close the door on actual diversity and then open the door for social justice, which is just another repackaged form of racism, because when it comes down to social justice warriors, their narrow view of black people and other people of color is all about promoting and perpetuating stereotypes that make black people and other people of color fit within their smooth world. They don't mind you being in their universe as long as you know your place in their universe. So if you decide to go out here and create a character that starts to get popular, what they will do is bury that character because that character is not fitting within their smooth world or telling a story that fits within their social justice narrative. So instead of us getting actual diversity, what we're getting is a completely narrow place filled with stereotypes. And I find it very interesting that your Victoria Alonso is talking about making the Marvel Cinematic Universe as diverse and inclusive. And I have to wonder who is working behind the scenes, because when it comes down to Hollywood and these people who talk about diversity and inclusion, just like your comic book industry, I don't see many people like myself working behind the scenes. Because with the comic book industry, most of the people talking about diversity and inclusion these days, they are white women, and we don't get to see many black people, many Hispanic people, many Asian people working in comics right now, just like the days before when we saw primarily white males working in the comic book industry. So the door really isn't opening as related to diversity. All we're doing is changing from a patriarchal white male narrative all the way to a gynocentric narrative with white females. And with this gynocentric narrative of social justice, we're getting the same sort of paternalistic racism we got many years ago in the 70s, but now in a maternalistic form. And this maternalistic racism we're getting with the Marvel comics from people like Ursana Amina and people like their Victoria Alonso, as related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, show us a really bad direction for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because that Marvel Cinematic Universe is not about actual diversity and inclusion. It is about promoting racism and the same old paternalistic narratives under the banner of social justice. And if this is the direction that the movies are going to go in, it's going to be an absolutely terrible direction, because when it comes down to many SJW comics, as they're called, from Marvel, They are some of the worst comics ever produced because, again, these comics feature very shallow stories, they feature very, very condescending narratives, and they talk down to the audience and insult the audience. And if they're going to adapt this into the Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't see the Marvel Cinematic Universe getting anywhere near a Phase 5. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to see some positive portrayals of African American heroes and heroines, you can pick up my ISIS series, my E-Steam series, my John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy on Amazon.com in paperback and ebook. And I'm trying to raise funds to pay for the first ISIS graphic novel, and if you could donate $1 or more to the Patreon or the PayPal, I would really appreciate it. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam Goddess of. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a demonic dominatrix in this action-packed all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Goddess of in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.